Are you about to become a brand new student diver, getting ready for your confined water sessions, and you're a little nervous about the mask skills that you're going to be asked to do? Or have you already started your open water sessions and you're just struggling to get comfortable with your mask skills? Was this you during your first session? Well, if so, you've come to the right place. Today we're going to talk about the top 10 problems that new divers have with mask skills and how to solve them all. Welcome to Everything Scuba. Hey guys, welcome back to Everything Scuba. I am Lyell, back on the island of St. Croix this week, and it is a hot one today. Let me tell you, I am looking forward to getting in the pool to show you all about these mask skills just to cool off. So, mask skills, it's an essential thing that every scuba diver needs to be comfortable with, needs to become second nature. We're going to talk about the top 10 ways that students will struggle or have problems with mask skills and what we can do about those. So if you're struggling with mask skills or you're a little nervous about the upcoming mask skills that you're going to be asked to do, you're not alone. It is not unusual for students to be somewhat nervous and kind of uncomfortable at first. It's a little bit of an unnatural act that we're asking you to do. So some of the things I hear is, I'm just not good with water up my nose. It just freaks me out, makes me uncomfortable. Or what if this happens underwater? I'm not going to be able to breathe without my mask on my face. Or we're going to disprove all of those things and get you comfortable with that feeling of that water around your nasal cavity. So along the way, we're going to talk about the whys. We call them, as in instructor speak, values. What is the value to being able to partially or fully flood or take off and put on your mask underwater? Why on earth would we ever want to do any of those things? But the other thing that I like to emphasize as an instructor is, yes, initially we're going to learn these mask skills in a pool, but ultimately you're going to become an open water diver. And that means that we need to be so just unconscious about our ability to clear our mask in a neutrally buoyant manner. First, let's talk about the whats and the whys. What are you going to be asked to do during your confined water and open water sessions? Number one, a partial flood and clear of your mask. Why would we want to partially flood and clear a mask? Well, there are times during a dive where you're having so much fun, you laugh, we've got little creases in our face, we get a little bit of water in our mask, up under our nose. The second skill is going to be fully flooding and clearing your mask. And again, why would we ever want to fully flood and clear a mask? You didn't defog properly, or you're having issues where your mask is fogging up during the dive, you can simply tilt that mask, fill it up with water, and then clear it out to clear out that fogging. Last, mask completely off and then replacing that mask. So why would we ever want to do that? Well, in worst case scenario, what if a mask strap broke during a dive? If you're like me, I can't see above the water without my glasses on, and it's even worse underwater. So if my mask strap broke, I would probably have very little chance of finding it. So I'm going to work with my buddy. I'm going to have to swim to the surface without a mask on. And so as instructors, we want to make sure that you can do those three skills. So the first three issues we're going to address really aren't skill problems. They're more in terms of the actual mask itself and your face. So let's cover those. The first is, does your mask fit your face properly? And I know it's very easy to run out to Amazon and buy a mask that looks really nice, but it's really important, and this is where I really stress working with your local dive shop to help you pick a mask that's going to fit your face properly, working with a professional that can actually help you fit that mask. We could spend a whole half hour talking about how to pick out a mask, the different types of masks. If you'd like to see that from Everything Scuba, drop some comments down below. We'll certainly put a show together about how to pick out a dive mask. Also, personally, the two dive shops that I work for, I know that the owners of those shops, if you buy a mask from them and take it out on a dive, it's just not fitting the way you would want to. I know they will work very hard with customers to make them happy if it means putting them into another mask. Very hard to do that from Amazon. So take care of your local dive shops, they'll take care of you. The second problem, which again is not really a skill problem, is I discovered that if I have any stubble or facial hair, that I'm going to have a constant little bit of leak of water under my nose and my mask will gradually fill up. So for me, any day that I'm diving, I'm going to be clean shaven. I want that smooth skin to really seal against the seal of my mask. But if you are a diver that has a beard, and I know plenty of them who are able to have a full beard, wear their mask and it seals, how are you doing that? Are you using silicone on your mask, or is the mask just soft enough, the skirt is nice and soft that it's creating that seal for you? Again, leave us some comments down below. The third example, which again is not a skill, is how are you wearing the mask on your face and where is the strap? So too often I see new students, they will position their mask like this. So in this example, you can see that the mask strap is positioned way down low, almost at the nape of the neck. And what that is going to do, it's going to want to pull your mask downwards on your face, and again, may ultimately not then allow the mask to fit properly. The position we want your mask strap to be in is this. So the mask is positioned with the strap almost at the crown of the head. It's pulling backwards and upwards on your face to secure the mask in that position. And again, when it comes to the mask itself, we don't need to have this super snug and tight on our face. I want to be able to pull my mask away from my face just a little bit so that it's comfortable for me to wear for an hour plus dive if that's going to happen. So don't over tighten your mask. So the water up the nose and freak out, the thing that I showed you at the start of this episode. It doesn't always happen like that. People may cough and choke. They get a little bit of water up the nose, and that creates a lot of anxiety, and for some people it means they want to stand up out of the water. Well, if we're divers and we're at 30, 40, 50, 60 feet, that's not an option if we get water in our mask. So how do we deal with that? What I tend to see is students that have that problem tend to want to exhale through their nose and then automatically want to then re-inhale through their nose. As a diver, that's not a good thing. We are mouth breathers by nature as divers, which sounds like a derogatory term, right? We want to train ourselves to constantly breathe in and out through our mouth. So to practice this, and as a way to prove to me that students can do this right off the bat, it's one of the first things that I will do during a class. We get our gear on, we do our pre-dive safety check, we get in the water, and before we put any other gear on, not even the mask, I'm going to demonstrate to students. I will clear my regulator, I bend over, I put my face in the water and simply breathe. I then stand up and I ask each student in turn to do the same thing. And I would tell you that probably 95% of students are able to do that without any problems. And what they've done right there is they've proven to me that they can breathe without a mask on their face underwater and not freak out about it. You can practice this at home, in the tub, in the pool. If you're less than 18, under adult supervision only, please. But if you have a snorkel and a mask, then you could leave your mask off, use your snorkel, try to bend over and see if you can concentrate on only breathing in and out through your mouth, holding the air in your nose, which prevents the water from entering there. Not stabilizing the top of your mask when you're trying to clear. So if you don't apply some pressure to the top of your mask, right here I'm going to show you an example, no hands on the mask, you're breathing out through your nose, you're doing it correctly, but all of that air is going to escape out the top of your mask, and you're not going to be able to clear your mask. So we have to provide some kind of stabilization. Usually I like to use 2 fingers, one on each corner at the top of my mask. Some people like to use a single hand. I'll show that a little bit later in this episode. Next most common problem I see is students who are unable to or are not used to exhaling fully through their nose to clear their mask. Instead, they end up breathing out their mouth through their regulator. And so here's an example of it's all mouth breathing. We're not forcing that air into our mask, and that air pressure is going to help to clear our mask by forcing the water out the bottom. My technique to clear my mask, to force air into my nose with a regulator in my mouth, I force my tongue to the roof of my mouth and as far back in my mouth as I can get it. And I'm essentially closing off my mouth to any air. So when I breathe out, I'm forced to have to breathe out through my nose. So it all comes out through my nose, and that's because my tongue is blocking my mouth. Give that a try at home. One of the most common problems that we see that creates problems for students is they are stabilizing their mask at the top, just like we talked about in the previous problem, but suddenly their thumbs get involved in the process. And so they're stabilizing their mask. They then use the thumb to hold the bottom of the mask, and for some reason they want to pull that mask away from their face as they look upwards. And what I tend to see happen in that situation is they create such a gap that yes, they clear their mask partially, but by the time they set it back on their face, it is partially flooded again. And so thumbs really don't have to be placed on your mask for you to clear it. All you need is pressure at the top. Here's an example, pulling that mask away from the face. Don't have to put your thumbs on your mask at all. And in fact, I told you I was going to show you a single-handed method. So this is a single-handed method to put pressure on the top of your mask and get it to clear. If we have some certified divers out there watching this episode, tell us about some of the troubles and problems that you had with mask skills when you were learning to dive. Drop some comments down below. We'd love to hear about them and how you solve them also. In terms of the mask removal and replacement skill, what kind of problems do we see? Well, generally we're past the freak out and we're going to stand up out of the water stage. For me, when I first learned, and I see this in other students, when we take our mask off, the bubbles from our regulator as the exhale is going to irritate underneath our nasal cavity. So for me, I generally turn my head to the side. I'm going to let those bubbles pass my nose. I don't have that irritation and desire to want to inhale. The other problems that we tend to see are when you put your mask back on your face. The first of which is if you have longer hair in front, some bangs, as you probably saw from the footage. I don't have that problem. I don't have a lot of hair left up there as it is. But when you first replace that mask on your face, you want to clear out all of that hair out of the seal of your mask. If you don't, you're going to have a constant trickle of water back down into your mask, so you'll clear it and it just feels like it wants to fill again. So clear the hair out of there. The second issue that we can see with people who are replacing their masks is the border of the mask may be rolled over. And so I will constantly check to make sure that everything is flat and flush against my face, because if I try to clear my mask and I've still got a rolled border, again, that's another area where water can ingress into your mask. And here's a little bonus tip for you guys. I have found that the use of a mask strap cover makes removal and replacement much easier, particularly if you have long hair, because the strap cover easily slips over the back of your head. You're not having to manage that sticky rubber strap that kind of has a life of its own underwater to try and get it back on your head. And so sometimes investing a few dollars in a mask strap, hey, you can advertise your favorite dive shop, whatever kind of logo you want to have on it, but it really makes it easier, I found, for students, particularly those with long hair, to get things on and off much more easily. So, bonus tip. For some students, as they're first learning this, it may take them 2, 3, 4, 5 times to blow out their nostrils to clear their mask. And that's fine with me. I would rather have a student who takes their time, doesn't panic, but just takes their time and completes the task. As long as you have a regulator in your mouth and you can breathe, you're going to be fine. By the end of your 4th confined water dive, however, I want to have my students be able to complete all of their mask skills neutrally buoyant. And so we will practice that over and over and over again, because in the open water environment, neutral buoyancy is how we're always going to carry out those mask skills. We have an issue with a mask, we're not going to ascend 30 feet to the surface to fix that. We're not going to descend to the bottom to fix it. We're going to be mid-water, and we're going to take our time to clear our mask and take care of the problems. In the event of a catastrophic mask failure, we want to be close to our buddy within a couple of seconds, and with their assistance, not being able to see very much, get back to the surface. And that's why these skills are really important to perfect, and they should become second nature to you as a scuba diver. So guys, if you're a new diver having some struggles with those mask skills, I'm hoping this episode was useful to you. Hopefully it gave you some tips and tricks that you can use in your confined water and open water sessions. If it did help you, we'd love to have you hit that like button down below. It helps share our channel with other scuba divers, and certainly helps out our channel, so we'd really appreciate it. And as always, guys, if you love to scuba dive into Everything Scuba by hitting that subscribe button. So next up, let's take a look at some of the other problem areas of scuba diving that we see with newer divers. Click the link down below, go check that out.